I cannot believe that Will Byers has powers. Look at this. Look at him. Look at Mike looking at him. This is a completely different Will. Where did these powers come from? Are they like Henry's powers or are they like Eleven's powers? We have never seen anyone manhandle Demogorgons like this. Who would have thought that this far into the show they would introduce one of the weakest, most bullied characters in this universe as another superhero? I found the finale of Volume 1 to be so satisfying. Seeing this kid who's been bullied his whole life by normal kids as well as Vecna and the Mind Flayer, seeing him finally unlock these powers and have a way to stand up for himself made me so happy. And the fact that this is all thanks to Robin, who was his accidental mentor, it's such a crazy twist. I wonder what unlocked these powers in him and why we never saw them sooner if they originate from where it seems they do. Because Vecna got his powers in a similar way, and in Season 5, Mike tells Will that he's basically Vecna, where the powers are inside of him. And in this case, they literally are. And at the end of Season 4, Will literally hints at this and why it works the way they do. And the Duffer Brothers just announced in an interview how all of this works, clearing the air and answering a lot of our questions, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to break down all of this and learn the true source of his powers before we keep on watching the rest of Season 5. And we're also going to talk about why the Duffers say his powers are dangerous. If you're new here, welcome! Subscribe so you don't miss all the fun videos that will be coming out this month, and share this video with all your other Stranger Things friends because they need to know about this as well. Will literally wanted Mike so bad that he turns into 11. That's crazy! Now, in Season 5, for the first time, we see Will being affected by the return of the Demogorgons. It's been over a year and a half since the events of Season 4 where they teased the first hint at Will's upgraded powers. Mike thinks they killed Vecna and Will corrects him, saying that he's hurt but he's still alive, and that ever since he got back to Hawkins, he could feel his presence, telling us that while he was in California, he felt fine, no connection to the Mind Flayer or Vecna whatsoever. But now that he's returned to Vecna's hometown, now that he's back in physical proximity of him, he can once again feel the connection that he's had to him ever since he was taken back in Season 1. And this is important. We see Will on multiple occasions be so close to the hive mind that he's able to tap into it and go through the hive mind to see what Vecna sees. Will is accidentally spying on Vecna through their connection. He's also able to go through the hive mind and connect to the Demogorgons, seeing what they see, and ultimately, he will be able to control them just like Vecna can. Do you remember that one we saw rip open the barn doors at the McCorkle's farm, and it was about to attack Joyce? When Will was inside this one, the Demogorgon was more calm than normal. It slowly saunters forwards and towards Joyce, and then as she starts swinging at it, it just slowly stepped backwards. It never even tried to attack her once. This had to be the first time Will was influencing and controlling a Demogorgon, making it not attack his mother. And in the Sorcerer's finale, we see this on steroids. His eyes go white, just like Vecna's, and he reaches out his hands, controlling all the Demogorgons that he is connected to through the Mind Flayer. He freezes them in midair before raising them up, and Vecna's cursing all of them, just like we saw Vecna do to the kids in Season 4. And we even saw him display the same symptoms of using these powers, getting the nosebleed after. It's just so crazy knowing how long he's had these repressed powers. What unlocked these was Robin's speech she gave him about accepting himself for who he really is. He listened to her advice and was able to embrace his feelings after all of these years, and in doing so tore down the mental block, opening the floodgates to these dormant powers. And these powers date all the way back to Season 1. If we look at where powers come from in this universe, they all go back to one source. In the first Shadow Stage play, they reveal where Henry Creel, the first person to have powers, gets them from. I have a full video breaking down the entire play. Definitely go watch that after this so you know what's going to happen before watching Volume 2, because the Duffers said that there will be even more references in the next couple episodes. But basically, the Creel family used to live in Nevada before moving to Hawkins, and young Henry Creel was an explorer. He liked to play in the caves near his house as a kid. More specifically, this exact cave system that we see in the show. And one day, he stumbled across a dead Russian scientist, and Next to him was a container full of mind flare particles. And this was right after Henry's 8th birthday. And most likely, just being a curious little kid, Henry walked over and opened the box. The mind flare particles went inside of him and transported him to Dimension X, and he was missing for 12 hours that day. He even stumbles into a Demogorgon while he was there, but when he returned, he had no memory of the time he was missing. This is very similar to 11 not having a memory of what happened after the Hawkins massacre. Now, later, Brenner confirms that going to Dimension X and being infected with the mind flare particles changed Henry's blood type, and now he has powers. These are from the mind flare. The mind flare lets Henry use its powers in exchange for using his body as a host. And this too is a very similar experience to what happened to Will. Will was targeted and taken by Vecna into another dimension and was pumped full of mind flare particles, and this connected Will to the hive mind. In Season 2, we see Vecna use their connection to spy on Will and his friends. And apparently, when Will left Hawkins and was in California during Season 4, his connection to the hive mind was dormant. He couldn't feel it at all. It wasn't until he returned to Hawkins in the end that he could feel his connection active again. And when he gets even closer to it, when he's standing next to a Demogorgon, or next to Vecna, or an open portal, his connection is even stronger. It's entirely proximity-based. We saw hints at his powers in Season 2, at his connection with the now memories, when he's able to see into a different dimension while he's in the present. And now that Robin has helped him make sense of these feelings and has helped him accept himself for who he really is, he has unlocked these powers to their full potential. And the Duffer Brothers keep saying that Will is tapping into Vecna and using Vecna's powers. So we just have to remember that Vecna also is using the Mind Flare's powers. Will is going through their hive mind connection that the Mind Flare established to use Vecna's powers. He's literally seeing through him, feeling through him, and now using powers through him. They go on to say that as cool as this is, Will using these powers is very risky and dangerous because Vecna is still connected to him, so technically he could Uno reverse and take back control. And this will 100% come into play at some point. This puts Will in a very sensitive situation. While he's going to want to help his friends with his newfound powers and possibly become overeager with them, eventually Vecna is going to take back control and someone is going to get hurt because of it. They also mentioned that Will's powers are going to continue to evolve and grow in the next couple episodes. What we saw was just the first drop in the bucket. They mentioned that Vecna is underestimating Will here, and honestly, this wasn't conveyed too much in the show. He tells him he's weak, but since Vecna is connected to him, he must know that he unlocked these greater powers. Vecna might have felt the Demogorgon snap. I mean, I guess Will could have even felt them too. But this means that Will's powers are different. They're different from Eleven's. In the stage play, at the very end, it shows Brenner taking a vial of blood from Henry, and then we see him inject the pregnant mothers with it, a test group that included Terry Ives, Eleven's mother. And this is what gives Eleven her powers, and all the other test subjects. It's usually derived from the Mind Flare, but since Brenner didn't have access to particles anymore, he figured out a new way to extract Henry's unique blood type and clone the powers through their mothers into the children. And these children were never as strong as Henry though. Their powers come from his blood, not straight from the source like Henry's do. That's part of why Eleven has had so much trouble fighting Vecna. In theory, she's weaker than him. Her beating him at the massacre at Hawkins' lab was partially due to all of her anger and emotions that he taught her how to use to enhance her powers. That, along with Henry not being able to use his powers in years, thanks to Brenner's dampening chip Soteria that he implanted in him, but also because he was probably taken off guard by Eleven challenging him. He probably thought that after his giant monologue that she would actually join him. Plus, he also just walked around killing every single doctor, nurse, soldier, and power-sensitive test subject in the entire lab. And we saw the first time that he used his powers on his family, he passed out from how strenuous it was. So we know his powers too take a toll on him. And all of these reasons led to young Eleven being able to defeat him and send him to Dimension X. But seeing Will get powers from the Mind Flare particles being pumped into him makes me wonder what Vecna is going to do with all of these children. He's taken, 12 children total now, and he's planning on trapping them all on the walls of this weird inner lair and hooking them all up to vines to pump them full of particles just like he's doing to Holly. He told Will in the finale that he's going to use them as vessels, most likely as more vessels for the Mind Flare, just like he used Will in Season 2. So does this mean that just like Will got his powers, all of these children are going to get some type of powers as well? That they will all now be connected to the hive mind and will be tapping into it and using the mind flare's powers? Because if the end goal is still unleashing the mind flare on the real world to destroy and consume everything, we might end up seeing these 12 children leading the upside down armies into Hawkins using powers just like Vecna and Will. This is so crazy. I can't wait to see what happens with this, and I'm even more excited to see Will's powers evolve and get more intense. They're already insane. I love that Vecna underestimates him right now because that will give Will the upper hand for their first time they'll fight each other. I just worry about Vecna using Will's connection as he embraces it and taps more into it more often and stronger. Like Mike said, Will is now Vecna. They are both connected. They're basically the same. Tell me in the comments if you think Will can defeat Vecna with his new powers, especially if they're now both drawing them from the same source. Make sure you're subscribed because I have a lot of Season 5 videos coming out very soon that you're not going to want to miss. I will see you soon in the next one. Peace.